Preferences between autistic versus someone with autism by Timothy Rohr. Autistic and someone with autism are two ways of identifying being on the autism spectrum. Both terms mean being affected by autism. However, autistic and someone with autism can be viewed in different ways. We're going to learn the preferences between autistic versus someone with autism. The term autistic is described by people on the autism spectrum. The term autistic is also described by parents of children with autism, other relatives, and professionals who work with people with autism, such as special ed teachers, speech therapists, occupational therapists, and caregivers. Parents of children with autism, other relatives, and professionals who work with people with autism may commonly describe people on the autism spectrum as autistic because autistic defines who people on the autism spectrum are. People on the autism spectrum may accept being described as autistic because they believe that having autism defines them as a person. People on the autism spectrum may feel happy being described as autistic because they embrace their symptoms of autism and how being on the autism spectrum makes them see the world differently. People on the autism spectrum may also feel happy being described as autistic because they are proud to be different from neurotypical people. Neurotypical is a term used by the autism community to describe people who are absent from the autism spectrum and other mental conditions. However, the term autistic can make some people on the autism spectrum feel labeled. Some people on the autism spectrum feel labeled by their term autistic because they do not want to be defined by their condition or symptoms. Some people on the autism spectrum would rather be identified as someone with autism because they want to be created equal with neurotypical people, while people on the autism spectrum who wish to be identified as someone with autism may embrace their symptoms of autism and how being on the autism spectrum makes them see the world differently. People with autism who wish to be identified as someone with autism want neurotypical people to include them the same way as their fellow neurotypical peers, while they need accommodations and support for their condition. The term autistic is not derogatory, even though some people on the autism spectrum wish not to be identified that way. People with autism have a choice whether they feel comfortable being identified as autistic or someone with autism. If an individual with autism feels comfortable being identified as autistic, it's okay to address them as autistic. But if an individual with autism does not feel comfortable being identified as autistic, it's best to respect their preference and refer to them as someone with autism instead. Just like how there are preferences between autistic versus someone with autism, there are also preferences between two iconic symbols of autism. The two iconic symbols of autism are the puzzle piece and the infinity symbol. The puzzle piece has been commonly used to symbolize autism. However, some people with autism do not feel comfortable using the puzzle piece to symbolize autism because puzzle pieces can mean that there is a piece missing to someone with autism. That's why the infinity symbol is also used to symbolize autism. In fact, many people with autism like to use the infinity symbol because it's multicolored and it means that autism is a spectrum and each individual with autism is different. Be sure to get to know an individual with autism first before you address them as autistic. People with autism who identify as either autistic or someone with autism equally deserve acceptance and inclusion. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tips for Inclusion, the number 4. Check out my other videos and share my videos with your friends, family, and everyone around you. Check out my website and social media